Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. I am Bryson Carver, and yes, we are back on all three platforms. Facebook went bye-bye on Monday, as I'm sure everybody knows. If not, you're probably a pretty smart person, to be honest with you, because you're not on social media, so that's actually probably a good thing that you didn't know. But yeah, 6-hour outage. Didn't get to do the show on Facebook the other day, but Facebook viewers and watchers, we're back, Carving Up Live, and boy, do we have a show for y'all tonight. Gonna start by talking about the Urban Meyer situation, which has been a total train wreck. I'm here to tell you, he's about to be gone in the next 3 to 4 days. I'm predicting it right now. I'm going to divulge in that in just a second. Also, Chargers-Raiders. Chargers handed the Raiders their first loss of the season, as I predicted they would on Monday. One of the few predictions I did get right from week 4 of the NFL season. What's really interesting about the loss for Vegas, this, not necessarily the game, but a part of the game, a part of their season, a part of their team in general, is the reason they're in a weird situation. I'll talk about that a little later, as well as the Major League Baseball postseason kicked off Tuesday with my Red Sox beating the hated New York Yankees 6-2, and the Dodgers walking it off against the Cardinals last night. I'll talk about both of those games. What else we got? We're going to talk about Jaylon Smith getting released by the Cowboys. I totally agree with the move that Dallas made, as well as tonight's prediction for Seahawks hosting the Rams. Best Thursday night game we've had thus far. It's going to be good. And so lots to talk about today. So let's start with Urban Meyer. Now, I briefly mentioned it. I was actually reacting to a comment when I did mention it at all with the whole Urban Meyer situation. And for those of you that don't know, here's what happened. Okay, so the Jaguars played the Cincinnati Bengals a week ago today. They played the Thursday night game in Cincinnati, lost in a game-winning field goal. Okay. Urban Meyer, of course, as we all know, coached the Ohio State University. So he obviously knows the state very well. Of Ohio, does not fly with the Jaguars back to Florida. Okay, that in itself is a little weird. But hey, he told the players he wanted to catch up with family, right? Because it was a short week, they got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off before they get back to work and prepare for their upcoming opponent, the Tennessee Titans, on Monday. Okay, fine. All right, I don't love it as a player, but okay, he's visiting family. Well, some pictures on social media show that was not the case. Now, he may have visited family, but he also did some other things. He was at the club, right? There's multiple pictures online of him with women significantly younger than him, and it's pretty much fallen apart from there. So the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shad Khan, condemned Urban Meyer and called his actions inexcusable. But the one that stuck out to me is one Jacksonville Jaguars player. This is according to Mike Silver of the NFL Network. So this is a very credible, reliable source. An unnamed Jacksonville Jaguars player told Mike Silver that Urban Meyer has, quote, zero credibility in the stadium. Zero credibility. And another player said that the team laughed following his apology for the whole incident. So this is falling apart. Now there's a couple things to talk about here. Number one is, of course, we get it. Morally, it's not the greatest look in the world. No question about it. It's not good. I will say this, and this is not in defense of Urban. This is just the reality of how we cover sports as the media, and frankly, how we look at it as fans, right? If the Jaguars are 4-0, this is a story, but nobody's talking about firing Urban Meyer. Like, nobody's talking. So it's like, what's the old saying? Like, don't be, if you're already kind of a distraction, you better produce on the field, or in Urban's case, on the sideline. And he's obviously, at this point, become a huge distraction for the Jaguars organization. Okay, this is the same Jacksonville Jaguars team that reports came out during training camp didn't really like Urban, didn't buy into what he was selling, right? A little too college-esque. This is why the greatest coach in college football history, the greatest coach in the history of college football, Nick Saban, he was fine in the NFL, but eventually these are professionals. They kind of get tired of getting screamed at and yelled at all day, right? And so that's one of the reasons why it ultimately didn't work with the Miami Dolphins for Nick Saban. And that's why he, of course, went to Alabama, and the rest, as they say, is football history. Well, Urban here kind of brought that same mentality, that same coaching style to Jacksonville. These guys are like, whoa, wait a minute. We're not college kids. Okay, we're grown men. We get paid. Like you can't coach us the same way you do 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like, it just doesn't work. And so I am not saying that Urban Meyer's job, the only reason it's on the line is because this, along with the Jaguars being 0-4. That's not what I'm saying. However, it would help if they had won at least 2 games, if they split their first 4. They're 2-2. Hey, that's double the wins they had last year, right? They only won a single game last year. But because you're already 0-4, the team's starting to get a little frustrated, and now you got this. So that makes the situation that much worse. I'll even podcast my man Barry Grant Jr. You already know, or he says, you know how I feel about Urban Meyer. I'm assuming it's not great. I don't know if I necessarily know your opinion on Urban, Barry, but I can't anticipate it. It's a complimentary one. But and I don't necessarily blame you. And the second thing is this. This has become who Urban is. I talked about Richard Sherman last week, and I talked about when he had the video came out about when he got arrested. Don't know if there was any alcohol in the system, whatever. Something really bad could have happened if that door would have broke down. Thank God it didn't. But Richard Sherman made a big mistake. But the rest of Richard Sherman's off-field record, it's pretty darn clean. I mean, the guy did graduate from Stanford. Okay, he's a smart dude. He's been nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. So he's great in the community. By all accounts, he seems to be a good father, a good husband. I've always believed we shouldn't judge somebody based off of their worst mistake. Because if another one of us, we're good, we have good morals, we have strong beliefs in being a good human being and being good to others. We make a mistake. We don't want everybody to judge us just based on that one thing, right? It's kind of like Drew Brees, for example. Like Drew Brees last offseason screwed up. He screwed up. He said something very insensitive, and it obviously didn't go over well with the Saints, the whole NFL, frankly, a lot of people in general. But what did Drew Brees do? He apologized, and he learned his lesson. And the rest of Drew Brees' off-field record states he's a pretty good guy. Right? He made a mistake. He learned from it. Urban Meyer, it's year in and year out. There's just another scandal. The last year he coached, 2018, when he mysteriously retired from Ohio State due to health concerns. It's really funny. That was the exact same season with the assistant coach thing, right? The assistant coach, domestic violence. Urban said he didn't know about it. That's highly unlikely. I mean, coaches around their assistants all day. There's a lot of belief that the assistant coach's dad, who mentored Urban, that had something to do with it. And Urban didn't want to fire the guy and shame him and thus shaming his family. I don't know. Y'all know I hate conspiracy theories, but that is certainly something that people have talked about. It was a terrible look for Urban Meyer. Terrible. Barry says the Jaguars had a choice to go after a real football guy instead of an excuse machine like Meyer. The problem with bad organizations is that they do not know what it is to win consistently. And that's what the Jaguars are. They're a bad organization. And You go back to before he even coached a single snap in the NFL. Urban Meyer gets hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's hiring a staff. Some of the hirings he made as far as coordinators were questionable at best. But then the big kicker, and I know, Barry, you and I actually discussed this, and I'm sure those out there watching or listening know about it. He hires the former strength and conditioning coach from the University of Iowa, who got fired. Why? Why did he get fired from Iowa? Allegations of racism, of bullying. And so of all the guys Urban Meyer could have chose, he chose that guy? Look, I get it. You want the best strength and conditioning coach, but you choose the guy with that on his record? Like, that's kind of shady, Urban. And so at a certain point, when somebody keeps getting in trouble and getting into scandal after scandal after scandal, it kind of becomes part of who they are. And this is part of who Urban Meyer is. And so listen, I make my Sunday NFL predictions every Friday. Be sure to catch that, by the way. We got some good ones. Jacksonville hosts Tennessee on Sunday afternoon. Now, the Titans, they're coming off a tough loss to the Jets last week. But Derrick Henry, every year, he runs wild on a lot of teams. The Jaguars and the Texans, Derrick Henry has a field day. I mean, it's like running against high schoolers. I mean, he's just can't stop him. Are you telling me that if Tennessee goes into Jacksonville on Sunday, dominates from start to finish, wins in blowout fashion? This is at home, by the way. This is important. The fans know the situation with what happened last weekend with their head coach. You think that he's going to survive the following week? You tell me he's not going to get fired? I think he's gone. Urban said he never considered resigning. He said this week he never considered resigning the job. Oh, look, that's great. But this ultimately will not be your decision. Okay, Shad Khan, if Tennessee smokes Jacksonville on Sunday, and I anticipate they will, he's gone. I'm here to tell you right now. Listen, I'll come out and admit Monday or Thursday, whenever the next couple shows are. I'll admit if I'm wrong. But I just got a strong feeling with what the owner has said, with what his players have said. Listen, what do we know about coaching? If a coach is on the hot seat, you're like, is he going to get fired? Is he not going to get fired? If the players still like the coach, it can sometimes be 50-50. But if the coach loses the locker room, it's over. It is over. Go ahead and make the move. He's gone. John just says, I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's where I'm at right now. Jacksonville gets smoked by Tennessee on Sunday at home. The fans know what happened. The players darn sure know what happened. I mean, a player, as I quoted earlier, said that the team laughed following Urban Meyer's apology. They don't buy it because you told us that you were just staying in Ohio to visit some family members or visit some old friends from Ohio State. Okay, fine. And instead, he's going messing around. I mean, what would we do if this were a player? If the player was okay, nice player, but not a guy that's like, you have to have him, he probably gets cut. And that guy isn't leading an entire group of men, of 53 men. Urban is. By the way, did I forget that he had the whole Tim Tebow thing, right? Tim Tebow hadn't played an NFL regular season game in nearly a decade. And he's just going to switch positions. He's going to make the team. It's going to work great. And so the players looked at that as well, and they're like, wait. I thought you told us the NFL is the ultimate meritocracy. And you sign a dude who since he last played a regular season game, has been in the broadcasting business, has played minor league baseball with the Mets organization. And so he's just going to come back. He's just going to work out, right? You just work out and catch passes and block. It's that easy, right? And we saw what happened to Tim Tebow the first preseason game, right? It was a disaster. And the Jaguars cut him 2 days later. So I don't think he has much longer in Jacksonville. I really, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, think he's gone. After Sunday, if they get blown up by the Titans, good night. Urban Meyer era in Jacksonville is over after 5 games. If they get blown out and he doesn't get fired, I'll come out and admit I'm wrong. But I don't see how he could survive that. After all the, it's controversy after controversy after controversy. You don't want players to be a distraction. Your head coach is a distraction. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got the number 1 pick. You've got the guy who some have called the most talented quarterback coming out of college ever. And if he's not number 1, he's in the top 5, right? He's up there with the Peyton Mannings, the Dan Marinos, guys like that. You can't, if you waste this guy's talent, what are you going to do? And you got this nonsense to deal with, can't happen. You're trying to change a culture with this new quarterback, and if you have that guy running the show, it's over. So that's where I'm at. I'll get back to the NFL with the Chargers-Raiders game in a few minutes because it's the Chargers obviously looked really good. Raiders made a run at it, cut the lead to 7 after being down, 21-0. But it just felt like the Chargers pretty much had control of that football game from start to finish. And the Raiders are in a really, really weird, awkward position, and I'll talk about that in about 10 minutes or so. But let's talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs, which, by the way, are going on right now. There's a game going right now between the Houston Astros and the Chicago White Sox. As of this moment in time, the Astros are destroying the White Sox. It's 6-0 Houston in the top of the 6th inning. So barring something crazy from happening, it looks like the Astros are going to take a 1-0 lead in that best of 5. But let me start with the American League Wildcard game. And I just got one thing to say.
The Yankees lose.
Yes, they did. To my Boston Red Sox. Sorry, John, if you're in here. Sorry, Mike Guido, if you're in here. Sorry to any Yankee fan who's in here. But there you go. John said this is where I sign out. Yeah, get out of here. You and your Yankee love, man. Come on. You're my man. You come in a couple weeks ago when I had you on the show. You got that dang Yankees hat on. Man, come on. You gotta be kidding me. But anyways, Red Sox Yankees wildcard game. In all seriousness, let's be objective here, or at least as objective as I can possibly be about my baseball team. What you saw on Tuesday night is not necessarily a direction that the two organizations are going in, right? It's not like, oh, the Red Sox are trending upward and the Yankees are trending downward. It's not necessarily that simple. But what it is how to build an organization, how to build a championship contending team, and how not to, right? Because you look at the Red Sox. Trust me, I know all too well as a fan, right? They win the World Series in 2018. In my view, is the greatest Red Sox team of all time. They won 108 games. They lost 3 games the entire postseason. They beat 2 100-win teams on their way there, where they ultimately beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in 5 games. They were dominant. Pitching was amazing. Bullpen was great. Offense was unstoppable. But they come back in 2019. They missed the playoffs, okay? You got the whole Houston Astros scandal. Because Alex Cora was a part of it, the Red Sox fire him. And so 2020, you got the pandemic, so it's a shortened 60-game season, and the Red Sox finish last in the AL East, even below the lowly Orioles. The Orioles had more wins than the Red Sox last year. This year, they had a couple free agents. They had, guys like Hunter Renfroe and Kike Hernandez, but nothing huge. They didn't get a big name on the market. They bring back Alex Cora, and a year after finishing last in their division, They're in the American League Division Series where they play the Tampa Bay Rays in about 2 hours or so, game one. Now, I don't know if they'll win that series or not. I said the Red Sox would beat the Yankees, but the Rays would beat my Sox in 5 games. Of course, I hope I'm wrong on that. But what the Red Sox have, they use analytics. They do, and you should. The Red Sox should use analytics. Every team should use analytics. But the difference is the Yankees are possessed by analytics. Every decision they make is based on the numbers. Yankees fans are saying, fire Aaron Boone, fire Aaron Boone. He's a puppet manager. The New York Yankees, what they are doing, they're starting to turn into the team that I love very dearly. That's the Dallas Cowboys. Big brand. If you say name an iconic football team, an iconic NFL football team, Dallas Cowboys is probably the first answer that comes out of everybody's mouth. Name an iconic Major League Baseball team, the New York Yankees are absolutely the first name that comes out of everybody's mouth, right? 27 championships, the legends, the Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Derek Jeter, all these guys, right? But in the last 12 years, they haven't been that aggressive in free agency. When they have, they've given too much money to guys like Garrett Cole, who doesn't pitch well at Fenway Park if you look at his career numbers. They hire puppets as their head coach, Dallas Cowboys. Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett, don't remind me, and Mike McCarthy is torturing me right now. Aaron Boone. They're starting to be a little bit like the Cowboys, where they rely almost completely on the farm system. And I'm not against the farm system. But the Dodgers traded all their picks. All their best farm players outside of Gavin Lux to go get Mookie Betts and along with them, David Price from my Red Sox. How'd that work out? 2020 champions, and I'll talk about the Dodgers in a few minutes, but they're favored to get to the World Series, even as a wild card team, because look, they won, over 100 games. I like the Blue Jays and what they did this year, but these are still young guys. These are farm system players. And so the bottom line about the Yankees, and I heard their broadcast, their lead broadcaster for the Yes Network, Michael Kay, say this. This lineup couldn't be constructed worse. It is nothing but righties. Nothing but right-handed hitters. Tuesday night against my Red Sox, the top 3, which I fear, which gave me a heart attack in the 6th inning. Okay, I thought they were about to come back on us again and give me nightmares from just a week and a half prior when the Yankees swept the Red Sox at Fenway over a 3-game weekend series. 6th inning, Anthony Rizzo, right? He played well. Aaron Judge played well. Giancarlo Stanton played well. After that, after the 1 through 3 part of the lineup, 4 through 9, 1 hit between the 6 of those guys. And it was just an infield hit. And the turning point in the game, no question about it. I know I'm not the first person to say this. I'm not the last. But the turning point in that baseball game. 6th inning, Anthony Rizzo hits a homer off Nate Eovaldi, by the way, who pitched outstanding. Brought the heat all night long. He was incredible. His fastball was deadly. Rizzo hits the homer over past the pesky pole in right field. Okay, it's 3-1 Red Sox. Aaron Judge gets aboard. Then Giancarlo Stanton, who should have had 3 homers, if you think about it. That first inning shot, which ultimately turned out to be a base hit, I thought that sucker was over the monster. And he was jogging a little bit. It hit the top of the monster, and it's only a base hit for Giancarlo Stanton. The 6th inning, he hits one that I think has a chance in the left center field. It doesn't. Drops. Base hit. Double. And the third base coach for the Yankees sends Aaron Judge. Now, I know Yankees fans are ripping the guy. But I'll defend him here. Because was it maybe, Alex Rodriguez talked about in the broadcast on ESPN, is it his heart rate going a little bit? Is it the magnitude of the moment? He knows the Yankees have struggled to generate any offense. They need any run they can get. That's why he sent Aaron Judge. I think more than anything, it's like the stat I just mentioned. After Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, the rest of the Yankees lineup had one hit combined. So he's like, best case scenario, I get a sac fly. I mean, up next is Joey Gallo, who was hitting 199, right? That's not going to work. John says definitely the turning point. It was. When Kike Hernandez, who, by the way, made a great play after Verdugo misplayed the baseball. Kike Hernandez gets it into Bogarts, and Bogarts makes a great throw home. Kevin Plawecki, the catcher, tags Judge out at the plate. That felt like the Red Sox won the game at that point. I know Alex Verdugo had 3 RBIs in, I believe, the 7th and the 8th. Or no, it was in the 6th and then again in the 7th. Verdugo came up clutch. But I feel like that was okay. You felt the air being sucked out of the Yankees dugout right there. And so at the end of the day, they still got some star players. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton had his best year as a Yankee. That's good for New York fans. Aaron Judge finally stayed healthy and had an unbelievable year. Anthony Rizzo was a godsend at the trade deadline. Yankees, you need to extend that guy. I hope you don't, but you need to sign that dude in free agency. There's no salary cap in baseball. You're the New York Yankees. You got to get Anthony Rizzo and bring him back to be your first baseman for the long term. He's a champion, won in 2016 with the Cubs. The moment's never too big for him. He's a great clubhouse guy. You need to make sure you go and get him and bring him back. But again, the problem with the Yankees, once again, as it feels like I'm a broken record saying this, that every year in the playoffs, what's ultimately their demise? It's not that their offense is bad, but it's 2 things. A, their offense is reliant on launch angle and exit velocity. And how about just getting on base? I mean, the Yankees, they have plenty of iconic players, right? One of the most iconic is Mr. October himself, Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, I heard a radio interview with him over this summer. And Reggie Jackson talked about when, I think it was 2019, Brian Cashman, the general manager, sent him to, I think, the Yankees, either their AA team or their AAA team. I can't remember. He sent them to one of those teams to talk to some of the players. And the Yankees organization as a whole was just paralyzed that, God forbid, Reggie Jackson might give some of the young fellas some hitting tips. Because he doesn't do it based completely on launch angle and exit velocity and all these numbers that analytics have provided baseball as of late. They talked about when he got back, the Yankees were saying, you didn't say anything, right? You didn't give me any pointers. He's like, no, but why you worried? He said that's when he knew, like, this organization ain't doing things right. The lineup is complete. It's all righties. And frankly, the starting rotation, your ace was terrible. Didn't even got 6 outs. You didn't pay Garrett Cole $324 million for 9 years to get you 6 outs in an elimination game. Unless he's coming out of the bullpen, which he wasn't, obviously. So, again, the Red Sox know how to build a championship contender. Alex Cora uses analytics, and you should. If you don't lose analytics, you're doing yourself a disservice. I fully believe that. But analytics is a big reason that the Tampa Bay Rays lost Game 6 of the World Series, and ultimately they lost the entire World Series in Game 6 last year against the Dodgers. because Blake Snell's pitching a great game. Like, Dodgers can barely make contact off this guy. They had like one hit through six innings. But Blake Snell's a left-handed pitcher. And Mookie Betts a right-handed batter at the plate. Dodgers have a man on first, and here comes Kevin Cash, who's a great manager, but he relied too much on the numbers. Sometimes you got to go with your gut feeling. Especially in big elimination games, you got to go with your gut feeling sometimes. Kevin Cash takes Blake Snell out. Dodgers get 2 runs of the 7th, 1 run in the 9th. They win the World Series. So Alex Cora, I mean, he'll bunt, right, with the runner at second and no outs, right? He'll sack bunt. Doesn't look great with the analytics, but how do you help your team win? Doesn't always have to look pretty. I mean, it's all about Jaylon Smith later in the show. I totally agree with the Cowboys move. For a lot of reasons that I'm talking about the Yankees. Like, you can't just rely on numbers or on potential. You got to go out and get the stars in free agency. Giancarlo Stanton looks like he's finally panning out. That's good for y'all. Garrett Cole, he's not good at Fenway. Like, that can't happen. Your ace cannot be not just struggle, but he's like bad at Fenway Park. He had a few starts there this season. He was awful. So that's the reality for the Yankees, and my Red Sox are moving on, and I'm very happy about that, of course. The opponent, the Tampa Bay Rays, is no joke. Again, I had the Red Sox, I predicted on Monday, if they were to win the wild card game, which they did, I didn't have them beating the Rays. It's eventually my head's got to start talking over my heart, and it did, and I had the Rays winning in 5 games. But again, we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's talk a little bit about the National League wild card game last night. Cardinals, Dodgers, and it was a pitcher's clinic. You got Max Scherzer on one end for the Dodgers, who is outstanding. You got 40-plus-year-old Adam Wainwright on the mound for the Cardinals, and he was excellent. Both bullpens were great. Joe Kelly, by the way, former Red Sox, Joe Kelly Fight Club in Boston. I don't have a t-shirt yet, but I need to get one. But Joe Kelly, unbelievable in relief. I believe it was in the 5th inning or 6th inning. I think it was in the 5th. Was it a jam? Got the Dodgers out of it. And so it's a bullpen game. They're getting huge out after huge out after huge out until in the bottom of the 9th inning, with the game knotted at a run apiece, with 2 outs, and Cody Bellinger at second base, this is what happened.
Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk 'em off, Chris Taylor.
First of all, that was the ultimate postseason moment. I mean, every kid dreams of hitting a walk-off in an elimination playoff game, and that's Game 7. That is a Game 7, right? It's win or go home. And so, Chris Taylor, hats off to you, man, because, look, he had been bad in the month of September going into last night's game, and, just goes to show you that the postseason can make a hero out of anybody. It can make a hero out of the superstar, and it can make a hero out of the pinch runner. I mean, look at Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts, who's, ironically, he's the manager of the Dodgers, but he'll go down in history for one thing: the steal. 2004, Game 4 of the ALCS. Of course, my Red Sox are down 3-0 to the Yankees. Dave Roberts comes in as a pinch runner for, I think it was Kevin Millar, after a walk. Steals second base. That same at-bat, Bill Miller knocks him in, ties the game. The Red Sox go on to come back from a 3-0 deficit and win the ALCS of the Yankees, and they go on to sweep the Cardinals and break the curse, the 86-year curse of the Bambino, to win the World Series. But Dave Roberts will go down in baseball history, will go down in Red Sox history. There's plenty of guys. Bucky Dent. Let's go to the other side of the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, right? Bucky Dent. I'm not going to use the other word that the Red Sox fans call him, but comes in, had to change bats. He broke his bat in the at-bat 7th inning against Boston. It's an elimination game. Winner wins the division, and Bucky Dent hits a 3-run shot over the monster, and the Yankees go on to win the game 5-4. And so, hats off to Chris Taylor, who I've always thought was a pretty good outfielder, but moment of his life, postseason moment of his life, right next to winning the World Series last year. So the Dodgers got a date now with the division rival, the San Francisco Giants. This is the first time that these two have ever met in the postseason, and it will be a dandy. Because with the Giants, you got a pretty solid rotation, excellent bullpen. The offense is as good as they come. Got Chris Bryant from the Cubs, Carl Yastrzemski. You got guys like that. You got good star players for the Giants, and then for the Dodgers, it's nothing but stars. You know, they're the one team in baseball, I think, in 20 years that they really don't have a weakness. Up and down the lineup, 1 through 9, their lineup is incredible. The rotation, I mean, you know, Clayton Kershaw might be out for the playoffs. This is Clayton Kershaw we're talking about. We're talking about an MVP. We're talking about a multi-time Cy Young winner, and it's back page news. Why? Because you got Max Scherzer. You got Walker Buehler. You got Julio Urias. You got David Price who can come in if need be and give you a good quality postseason start. Bullpen. That was my one concern going in. It was excellent. Kenley Jansen, by the way, 9th inning. Huge. And so going into the series, I had it close, but I'm taking the Dodgers to win it. I'm taking the Dodgers to win it. I think in 4 games, it took Dodgers in 4. It's not a sweep, by the way. It's best of 5 for those of you that don't know in the divisional series. But the Dodgers win in 4 games. Again, they literally don't have a weakness. The travel's not going to be crazy. You know, San Francisco to LA, it's nothing crazy. Obviously by plane. So Dodgers are going to win this series. I picked them to play the Houston Astros in the World Series before the season started. Again, Astros looking pretty good right now. They're still up 6-0 as we speak, but boy, would that be something. You got the Dodgers, who are world champions. You got the team that denied them because they cheated back in 2017, the Houston Astros. If that were to happen, sign me up. And I think America would agree. So here we go. But I got the Dodgers beating the Giants. But 2 excellent wildcard games. The first one wasn't that great of a game. I mean, we've seen better games in postseasons past, but it was great for me because I'm a Red Sox fan and they beat the Yankees and one last time.
Yankees lose.
Just in case everybody forgot. But let me transition now to the Raiders playing the Chargers. But before I get into that, I just want to mention a couple things. Candace Parker last night led the Chicago Sky, the 6th seed, by the way, the 6th seed in the WNBA playoffs. She has led them in her first season with the team, her hometown team. She came home, and she has led the Sky to the WNBA Finals. They were play either the Las Vegas Aces or the Phoenix Mercury, right? Both are great teams. Aces got all kinds of stars. You got the Mercury, who've got Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi still knocking down shots. She had like a 37-point game in the playoffs. So that will be an excellent series, whoever the Sky play. But listen, I'm pulling for Candace Parker. I'm pulling for the Chicago Sky. Candace Parker is an all-time great player, great human being, greatest player in the history of Tennessee basketball. She's a Vol for life, no doubt about it. Go Vols. And so definitely be pulling for her. And secondly, on, I believe it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday. Bubba Wallace made NASCAR history, becoming the second African-American driver to win a Cup Series race. And it was a great sports moment in so many levels. I mean, when we get to New Year's Eve, and I always do my New Year's Eve special, talking about the best of sports, and this year it's going to be live, so that's going to be fun. This will be one of the moments I mention, is Bubba Wallace become the second African-American driver to win in NASCAR. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Number one, he won in Talladega. Now, number one, Talladega is like second to Daytona. Like Daytona is the Super Bowl of NASCAR. But Talladega is right there. And we all know last year when the whole scandal with the noose in the garage, the FBI investigated it, found out it was not a hate crime. The rope had been there since I think the previous October. But it's like, but why did you put Bubba in that garage where that's the only one where the rope is fashioned like a noose, and Bubba had just come out against, the Confederate flag in NASCAR, which thankfully got banned, and just racism in general. And it's like, what's going on? Bubba said during the interview after the race that every track that he and his team go to, they get booed. Because, listen, the climate of NASCAR, we know what it is. Credit to those running the sport. They're trying to change that stigma. They're trying to change the narrative. It's going to be tough, but they're certainly putting the work in. But you got Michael Jordan owning the race team. So you're going to get the best of the best cars to put out there. No question about it. Right? I think, and Denny Hamlin, by the way, Denny Hamlin's a part of it as well. So Bubba's going to have the best of the best cars going against the best of the best. He just got to string together some wins. Well, got his first on Monday. He was emotional. It was a great moment. It was just a great sports moment, and hats off to Bubba Wallace, and hopefully many more wins to come. So, but again, this is just in general been a great week for sports. You got the NFL, obviously, we're in full swing now. We're going into week 5. By the way, going to predict the Rams Seahawks game to finish the show today. You got the Sky getting the NBA Finals. Favorite WNBA player ever, Candace Parker, leading her hometown team to the final round, where hopefully they'll be able to get it done and she can win a second ring. You got Bubba Wallace winning. You got Major League Baseball postseason. I mean, it has been a great week for sports. October is the best month in sports. It's not even close. It is not even close. Because virtually every American team sports is going. NFL is going. NHL is going to start soon. NBA season is going to start around the same time. Major League Baseball postseason, WNBA playoffs, and finals. Like this is the prime of the sports year. Now, for me as a fan, having to stay up and watch these games, it's also the month where I get the least amount of sleep. But hey, as long as the content for this show and in sports in general is good, hey, sign me up. But let's talk about the Chargers and the Raiders for just a second. Monday Night Football game. It got off to a weird start. Before a ball was even kicked off, you got both teams run out onto the field where the Raiders, who are on the road, get loud cheers, and the Chargers, who are the home team at SoFi Stadium, get booed, which is not, I mean, I guess it was shocking in the moment, but when I sat and thought about it, I was like, well, really, it's not that surprising, because the Chargers, since they moved from San Diego to LA, when they played a few years in that weird soccer stadium that seated like 17,000 people, it's not an NFL stadium. And then, they move into SoFi. It's like every home game they play, the road team's fans takes over. And I know they're not in Oakland anymore, but the black hole, so to speak, took over SoFi Stadium. So that was weird. SoFi Stadium is an indoor stadium, and the game gets postponed 30 minutes because of a lightning delay. And there was a meme of John Gruden where he's like, his arms are crossed, he's looking at the sky, he's like, Aren't we indoors, man? He's like talking to a referee, and the ref's like, yeah, but we just gotta, we gotta, keep everybody safe, just precautionary thing. Okay, man. So that was weird. But Chargers jump out to a 21-0 lead. Justin Herbert, as usual, played unbelievable. He's just a generational talent at the quarterback position. I mean, he can do it all. I said going into the 2020 draft, I said I think he's going to be the best one to come out. Because I liked Tua going into the draft, and that's not looking so good now. But I worried about the injuries. And then with Burrow, I certainly wasn't high on Joe Burrow on the show. I've already apologized. Don't make me do it again. But Joe Burrow, as good as he's been, and he has been really good with the Bengals, better than I thought, he can't do what Herbert can do. I mean, Justin Herbert last year, behind the worst-ranked offensive line in football, broke virtually every rookie quarterback record. And then this year, he's got a good head coach in Brandon Staley, and they're 3-1 and playing really good football on both sides of the ball. But I want to focus primarily on the Las Vegas Raiders because they're in a really, really awkward position right now. I'm not saying they're like not going to make the playoffs. I mean, they certainly have a shot to make the playoffs. They're 3-1. They're tied for first in their division. You know, they're in a good position right now. And I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're above average team, better than I thought they'd be this year. But they're in a weird spot at the quarterback position. And I like Derek Carr. Like, I've defended Derek Carr constantly on this show. But it's a tough position when you're in the same division, the AFC West, with Patrick Mahomes and now Justin Herbert, who both are, nobody would argue this, even Raiders fans, they are absolutely unequivocally better than Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is a borderline elite quarterback. I really like Derek Carr. But Joey Bosa, in the postgame, said something, and it's kind of true. Joey Bosa, great pass rusher for the Chargers, said, look, I'm not taking a shot, but once we get Derek Carr outside the pocket, he kind of falls apart. And Derek Carr is not the most mobile quarterback in the world, like Mahomes, and especially like Justin Herbert. We all know, to be in the championship contention in the National Football League, you got to have the best quarterback in your division. Your chances are slim to none if you got the second best quarterback in your division. If you got the third best, you have no chance. You have no chance if you have the third best quarterback among four teams. And that's what the Raiders have right now. And they're in a rough spot. They're a little bit, although I like the Dolphins, their trajectory more than the Raiders, they're in a similar position because we all know Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the market. He's pretty much said that. The Packers, by all indications, have implied that this is his last year in Green Bay. And you see Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Steelers, head coach of the Steelers, they're winking at each other, right? Aaron's probably more likely to go to Pittsburgh than Vegas or Miami. And so now it's like, okay, Rodgers is gone. Free agent quarterbacks. Like, who do we go get? By the way, let's talk about the draft. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but the 2022 draft prospects at the quarterback position are not even in the same stratosphere as the prospects from this year, 2021, or even last year. I mean, you got the Powell kid, the Howell kid from North Carolina. I don't see it. He reminds me. He's same college. He reminds me a little too much of Mitch Trubisky. Spencer Rattler, who I picked to win the Heisman before the season in Oklahoma. I mean, he's got Lincoln Riley, the best offensive mind without a question in college football, and he hasn't even come close to the production of Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts even. So I don't really see the it factor from him. So what do the Raiders do? We all know John Gruden has been skeptical at best about his starting quarterback. Frankly, he's never had the greatest relationships long-term with his quarterbacks, dating back to his days when he was with the Oakland Raiders and then the Tampa Bay Bucks and then back with the Raiders. And so it's kind of a weird spot. Like, where do the Raiders go from here? Josh Jacobs is an elite running back. Your offensive line isn't great, but it's getting better. Your defensive line, Max Crosby, is one of the more underrated pass rushers in the NFL. Okay, the defense is gradually getting better. Darren Waller is without question a top 3 tight end in the NFL. You've got good weapons. Henry Ruggs can run with anybody. And again, if Derek Carr is like the second best quarterback in the division, say he's in the NFC East, for example, right? If Derek Carr was in the NFC East, he would absolutely be the second best quarterback in the division. We all know Dak's better, but Derek Carr's better than Taylor Heineke and Daniel Jones and Jalen Hurts, right? So like whoever got it, say Washington had Derek Carr, they'd have a chance. I'd give him a shot to win the NFC East. But in the NFC West, you got to compete with those two teams. The Chiefs, who, listen, have no defense, but because of Patrick Mahomes, they're a championship contending team. Chargers, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contending team, but they're no question going to make the playoffs as long as their starting quarterback stays healthy. And we've seen what Justin Herbert's done in, 19 starts in the NFL. He's been incredible. So Raiders are in a tough spot right now. And I honestly am not real sure where they go. I feel like their ceiling is get to the playoffs as a wild card team and lose to a division champion. I mean, that's kind of a tough position to be in. You in the NFL, you'd rather be great than good. But in the NFL, you'd almost rather be bad, but going in, you've got draft picks, you've got, a star college quarterback you're looking at, than if you're a good team that it feels like there's not, how do they really go upwards? How do they really elevate themselves? As the old cliche goes, the greatest enemy of great is not bad. The greatest enemy of great is good. Well, it's good enough. The Raiders are good enough to get to the playoffs. But because their quarterback, who's really good, I'll say it again, he's really good, but isn't special. Isn't a Tom Brady, isn't an Aaron Rodgers, a Mahomes, a Russell Wilson, a Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert, a Dak Prescott. He's not in that group. So, again, I'm really not that sure where the Raiders go as far as building a championship contending team around Derek Carr in that division. If Mahomes is out, if Mahomes is in another division, if Herbert is out in another division, if one of those two guys are out, sure, I give them a puncher's chance if they continue to draft well. But those guys aren't going anywhere. Like Mahomes is on a decade-long deal. He's going to be in Kansas City for a while. Justin Herbert is going to get a massive contract when it comes his time. So they're going to be in the AFC West for years to come. I just don't know where the Raiders build a championship contending team in the AFC West with Derek Carr. Before I get to the Rams-Seahawks prediction, let me talk about my Cowboys for a second. They made a move on Tuesday, which some viewed as controversial, in that they released a guy who had made 2 Pro Bowls as a linebacker, Jaylon Smith. They released Jaylon Smith from the team on Tuesday. This surprised me only for one reason. I actually thought, I think I said it on the show, I think I said behind this mic, that I thought the Cowboys were going to release Jaylon Smith in the preseason because he was bad in the preseason, right? It feels like he's 2 steps slower than he was just a couple of years ago. He was missing tackles here and there. His communication wasn't great. And so he'd be behind plays, very similar to last year when he had just a terrible year. And this season, through 4 games, man hadn't even been a starter. He had not started a game through the Dallas Cowboys' first 4 games. And so what I will do for the Cowboys, and I don't always do this, even me being a Cowboys fan. I'm very objective when it comes to this team because they can drive me crazy sometimes. Kudos to them. And that's not a shot at Jaylon Smith, because Jalen Smith is one of the better stories in the NFL that there is. I mean, the 2016, I believe it was the Fiesta Bowl. He's with Notre Dame. They're playing Ohio State. Jalen Smith is guaranteed to be a top 5 draft pick 3.5 months after the Fiesta Bowl. And he suffers a devastating knee injury. I think there was nerve damage. I mean, it was awful. He slips all the way to the top of the second round, where Jerry Jones takes a risk, takes a shot, and drafts Jalen Smith. And Jalen Smith does not play the entire 2016 season, doesn't play his entire rookie year because he's recovering from the knee injury. Comes back in 2017, is good. Comes back in 2018, is great, is a Pro Bowler. 2019, not quite as good as the year before, but he was good enough to make another Pro Bowl. And then last season, it started to go into a downward spiral. Missed tackles, missed assignments. Now, to be fair to Jalen, that was the case with a lot of Cowboys defensive players last year. I mean, I don't even want to think about the days of Mike Nolan now that we got Dan Quinn, right? John says they should have kept him. I'd be curious to hear why. I understand those that say, well, look, he's a team leader, right? The Leighton Vander Esch seemed pretty upset that when he was talking to the press that Jalen Smith had been released by the Cowboys. You know, Micah Parsons, you know, some of the guys in that locker room were kind of shocked. Ezekiel Elliott, one of the team leaders, he was surprised. But what we do know about the National Football League is that you got to update your resume. You got to do Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? And to be frank, Jalen Smith hasn't done much for the Cowboys lately. At least positively on the football field. Now, that doesn't change the fact that he's a great human being. And, you know, I'm genuinely happy for him that the Green Bay Packers gave him an opportunity. You know, he gets a second chance to be a star. Like, you know, they've had some issues to the linebacker position. Maybe he can fill them. I don't know. But something else, another reason I don't think this will be a huge loss, he didn't even start. He wasn't even a starter the first 4 games of the year. And B, this Cowboys linebacking core is deep. Leighton Vander Esch is having a huge bounce back year, right? He's played excellent. Micah Parsons has been unbelievable. If it weren't for his teammate, Trayvon Diggs, or excuse me, I messed that up. Trayvon's in his second year. My bad. But Micah Parsons right now is probably in the running, he's probably the front runner to be Defensive Rookie of the Year right now. You got Jabril Cox, who is a really good linebacker in college. He hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. He will now. And Keanu Neal, who's on the COVID list, he wasn't vaccinated, so he's been there longer than, you know, the guys who have been. Once he gets back, he's emerged as a team leader. He played well the first 2 games against Tampa Bay and against the LA Chargers. So this isn't, listen, trust me, the Cowboys would not release Jalen Smith if they believe that he could contribute in a positive way. And it's been a long, long, long time since he has. You know, there was a little bit of resentment in the organization, and even I've noticed it watching games, that say there's a big play, right? The opposing team breaks off a 30-yard run, which was the case a lot of the times last year. In many cases, it was more than 30 yards. In many cases, they hit their head on the goalpost. But opposing team has a big play, and then the following play, Jalen Smith makes a tackle for a 1-yard loss, and he's doing the swipe. He's celebrating. It's like, dude, you just got gashed like the last 3 plays before that. Like, chill out. So I don't know if that played a huge factor, but, you know, it's something. So, look, I think the Cowboys made the right move here. They don't really need Jalen Smith. Now, if you get into week 14, week 15, and you're dealing with injuries, say, Leighton Vander Esch, knock on wood, has an injury history early in his career. You know, if Micah Parsons gets hurt, if, if Cox or Neal get hurt, well, you don't have Jaylon Smith to back him up. But I don't think you want to pay Jaylon Smith the amount of money you were paying him to be a backup. Like, if you're paying a guy that much, you want him to be on the field and you want him to be producing, and he wasn't doing that. And so I agree with the Cowboys move. And I wish Jalen all the very best in Green Bay. I think every Cowboy fan does. But this to me was a pretty easy decision. Honestly, I was surprised they didn't do it earlier. I was surprised they didn't do it in the preseason. So there's that. All right. It is Thursday Night Football tonight. It might be the best Thursday Night Football game of the season thus far. It's a good one. It is a really good one. A division rivalry in the NFC West, which we all know to be the best division in football. You got the Los Angeles Rams going on the road to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, as we speak, the Rams on the road, again, are favored -2.5. So Seattle is a home dog. Looking at this game, Seattle don't have a ton of momentum going into this one, right? They're 2-2. They lost the second game of the season. Who did Seattle lose to? I'm blanking here. Oh gosh, I got to check. Hold on, I'm gonna remember as soon as I pull it up. The Titans. Yeah, sorry. They were up 14 on the Tennessee Titans at home, and Tennessee came back and beat them in overtime on a game-winning field goal. Derrick Henry throughout the fourth quarter just ran wild on those guys, right? And Seattle the very next week goes to Minnesota up 10 in the second quarter, and they get shut out the rest of the way. The only reason they won last week in San Francisco is because Russell Wilson is a magician. Running around, making plays with his legs, and he's going to have to do that a lot tonight. Okay, their left tackle has struggled mightily. He's an older guy, I get it. The defense has not been good. Wasn't good last year, frankly. And so you're going against a Rams team that got embarrassed at home, humiliated by their division rival, the Arizona Cardinals, at home. The Rams are 3-0. They're coming off a great win over the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're feeling good about themselves. I called them the best team in the NFL last Monday, and they laid the biggest egg you could have laid against the Redbirds on Sunday. So they're going into this game on a short week, and they are ticked off. They know, okay, this is a game for the Rams that's going to show their character. I think more than Seattle is for themselves, because the Rams, when everything's going good, they're feeling good about themselves. Well, now this is their first bit of adversity. This is Matthew Stafford's first game of adversity where, okay, Matt, this is why we brought you here. We're losing a little bit of momentum. We played bad. You got to come back and play well. You got to right the ship. This is why we brought you here. To win games like this, and ultimately to win even bigger games down the road in January, and hopefully for the Rams in February. So with that said, the Seahawks, by the way, are missing Chris Carson. To be honest, the Seahawks, they're at their best when they run the football and Russell Wilson makes his magic happen. Well, they're without their best running back tonight. And so with that said, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams to win on the road in Seattle at home. When's the last time that's happened? Goodness. The Seahawks, Seattle used to be like the most dominant home field advantage in the NFL. Like, you just did not win there. And now I believe they're going to start 0-2. The game, by the way, kicks off at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, 5:20 p.m. Pacific time on Fox and the NFL Network. I'm taking the Rams. They cover. Matt Stafford throws a party on that bad Seattle defense. The Rams run the football well. And without the Seahawks, without their best running back, and again, going against the defensive line, that is the Rams, led by one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the sport, Aaron Donald. It's going to be a long day for Russell Wilson. I think Russ alone is going to be what keeps the Seahawks in the game. And despite that, they will fall short dropped to 2-3, and they're starting to get a little, not panic in Seattle, but close to it. They will lose by 10. Rams 31, Seahawks 21. That is my prediction going into week 5. I got to show up in week 5. I went 8-8 last week. It was my worst week of the season thus far. I hope to rebound. But that's where I'm looking at. Right now, got the Los Angeles Rams beating the Seattle Seahawks on the road, 31-21, and covering the 2.5-point spread. So with that, that is all the time we have for tonight's show. Thank y'all so much for listening. Be sure to catch Carving Up tomorrow, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. Speaking of YouTube, by the way, if you are on there right now, be sure to click that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, be sure to like, comment, share. Helps the channel and the show grow exponentially. For those listening to the Carving Up podcast, we appreciate y'all. Each episode is available 1 hour after every broadcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. So hope everybody has a great evening. Enjoy the game. I'm going to be watching Seahawks Rams as well as Red Sox Rays side by side. It's going to be a great night of sports and a great weekend of sports that I'll talk about tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. 6 Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, where you're watching right now, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter. Have a great night, everybody. God bless you all. Peace out.